They say you can't miss what you've never had. It's a lie. A beautiful, cruel lie told by people who have everything they want. You can miss it. You can miss it with every cell in your body. You can miss the weight of a child you've never held. You can miss the sound of a laugh you've never heard. You can ache for a future that's been erased before it ever began. For me, that future had a name. It was painted in soft yellows and greens in a room at the end of the hall. It was the feel of a tiny hand wrapped around my finger. It was the reason my husband, Mark, would squeeze my hand extra tight every time we saw a stroller in the park. We tried for years, years of temperature charts and doctor's visits, of hope so sharp it could cut you, followed by a loss so profound it felt like a silent death every single month. The diagnosis was final. Unexplained infertility. A medical way of saying, you are broken and we don't know why. The dream of me carrying our child, that dream died. It was a long, painful funeral, but then a miracle, or what I thought was a miracle. It came in the form of my younger sister, Amelia, and what she offered was hope. But what she wanted in return destroyed everything. Amelia. God, she was my best friend before she was my sister. Only 2 years apart. We shared everything. Clothes, secrets, dreams. She was the wild one, the free spirit. Vibrant, impulsive, with a laugh that could light up a room. She'd breeze in and out of our lives, trailing the scent of expensive perfume and drama. She'd date rock musicians and travel to Bali on a whim while I was the steady one. The planner. The one who wanted the white picket fence. Mark, my husband, adored her. Everyone did. Your sister is a force of nature, Chloe, he'd say, laughing as she'd talk him into some ridiculous DIY project he'd regret for weeks. He was the solid ground to my sometimes anxious soul. Calm. Dependable. With a quiet strength that held me together through every negative test, every tear-filled night. Our marriage was our fortress. Or so I thought. After the final diagnosis, I was a ghost. I moved through our beautiful, quiet house like it was a museum of a life we'd never have. Mark was my rock, but even rocks erode under a constant tide of grief. It was Amelia who pulled me out of it. She showed up on our doorstep with a suitcase and a determined look in her eye. I'm moving in for a while, she announced. No arguments. She forced me to get out of bed. She made me watch terrible reality TV and eat ice cream straight from the tub. She dragged me to yoga classes, saying we needed to heal our energies. She was my lifeline. One night, we were all three on the couch, a little wine in us, and the conversation turned, as it always did, to the baby, to the void. I was crying, and Mark was holding me, his own eyes shining, and that's when Amelia said it. Her voice was soft, sincere, filled with sisterly love. I could do it, she said. We both looked at her, confused. I could carry the baby, she said, as if she were offering to pick up milk from the store. For you guys, I'm young, I'm healthy. I'm not using this uterus for anything important. She gave a little self-deprecating laugh. It's just a thought. The room went completely silent. Mark's arms tightened around me. That's a huge thing, I stammered. You can't just offer that. Why not? She said, her eyes wide and earnest. You're my sister. I love you. I see you hurting. This is something tangible I can do. I want to do this. Let me give you this gift. It felt like a crack had opened in the floor of my despair, and a blinding golden light was pouring out. A chance. A real, actual chance. Mark was more cautious. Amelia, it's not that simple. The hormones, the physical toll, the legalities. It's a massive undertaking. I've thought about it, she said. And she had. She'd researched clinics. She'd looked into contracts. She was ready. It wouldn't be your eggs, obviously. We'd use a donor. I'd just be the oven. She grinned. I'm just the bun baker. You guys provide the bun. We laughed, we cried. The hope in the room was so thick you could taste it. The discussions lasted for weeks. Our parents thought it was a beautiful, if radical, idea. The lawyers drew up the papers, a gestational surrogacy agreement. Amelia refused any payment beyond medical expenses and a small comfort stipend. She was adamant. This is not a transaction. This is a gift from me to my family. She signed the papers with a flourish, hugging us both. We're going to have a baby, she squealed. We chose a donor, blonde hair, blue eyes like Mark. The implantation was successful on the first try. Amelia was pregnant with our child. The first trimester was a dream. Amelia moved in with us permanently to be close and to reduce stress. She had morning sickness and I'd bring her tea and crackers, feeling a strange, vicarious joy in caring for her, for the baby inside her. We went to every appointment together. Mark and I on either side of her, holding her hands as the doctor pointed to the tiny, flickering heartbeat on the screen. Our baby's heartbeat. We cried, all of us. But slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, things began to change. It started with the language. She stopped saying, your baby. It became the baby, then my little bean, then my baby. I'd gently correct her. Our little bean, Amy. She'd just smile vaguely and pat her stomach. Of course. Ours. Then it was the decisions. She'd veto names Mark and I loved. Oh, I just don't feel a connection to that name, she'd say. She started buying baby clothes without consulting us, frilly, extravagant outfits that were nothing like the simple, practical ones I'd picked out. She'd dominate conversations, talking over me to strangers about her birth plan, her cravings, her symptoms. I became a bystander in my own miracle. Mark noticed it too. She's just hormonal, Chloe, he'd say, trying to soothe me when I'd vent my frustration after she'd gone to bed. She's doing an incredible thing for us. We have to give her some leeway. He was right. She was doing an incredible thing. So I bit my tongue. I swallowed the hurt when she'd refer to the nursery as the room next to mine. I smiled tightly when she'd insist only she knew what foods the baby liked based on her cravings. The worst was the physical possessiveness. She'd guide my hand to her belly, but if the baby kicked, she'd pull my hand away as if I'd felt enough. She'd arch away from Mark if he tried to talk to her stomach. You're distracting him, she'd say. The fortress of my marriage began to feel the strain. Mark was constantly playing peacemaker, trying to placate Amelia's whims while reassuring me. The shared joy began to curdle into a constant low-grade tension. The birth was a traumatic emergency C-section. The baby was breech. The cord was wrapped. There was panic, rushing, shouting. Mark and I were shoved out of the delivery room. We stood in the sterile hallway, holding each other, terrified for the baby. For Amelia. After what felt like an eternity, a nurse came out. The mother is fine. The baby is healthy. A beautiful boy. She looked directly at Amelia, who was being wheeled out, pale but radiant, a tiny bundle in her arms. She didn't even look at us. He's perfect, Amelia whispered, her voice full of awe. My son, my perfect boy. The words hit me like a physical blow. My son. We followed them to the recovery room. Amelia held the baby like he was a part of her she couldn't bear to separate from. She refused to let the nurses take him for his checks. She wouldn't let me hold him. I'm just so tired, she'd say, turning her body away. He needs to bond with me right now. Mark, his voice firm for the first time, said, Amelia, we'd like to hold our son. She looked at him with such venom I flinched. Your son? You mean the son I just spent 9 months growing? The son I just had cut out of my body? You can hold him when I say so. The nurses were uncomfortable. The social worker assigned to surrogacy cases was called. Amelia turned on the tears. "They're trying to take my baby away from me. I just gave birth. I'm his mother." She played the hormone card, the trauma card, the exhausted new mother card. Everyone tiptoed around her. We were advised to give her time. We spent the first 2 days of our son's life watching Amelia hold him, feed him, whisper to him. We were spectators. We hadn't even named him yet. She called him my little angel. The legal papers, the donor egg, the contract, it all meant nothing in the face of her biological performance. She had given birth. In the eyes of everyone in that hospital, she was the mother. We brought them home, her and the baby. It was a nightmare. She installed herself in the nursery, in the rocking chair I had picked out. She slept in there with him. She'd locked the door. She breastfed. She had somehow induced lactation. "It's better for him," she'd say, a triumphant gleam in her eye. "The bond is so important." Mark and I were shut out completely. We were guests in our own home, orbiting around Amelia and her son. The final straw came one night. I was outside the nursery door, listening to her sing a lullaby. It was the same one our mother had sung to us, but she'd changed the words. "And when you wake, you will have all the love that I possess. For you are mine, my darling boy, and nothing, nothing less." I pushed the door open. It was unlocked. She looked up, startled. Then her face settled into a smug defiance. "You need to stop," I said, my voice trembling. "His name is Jacob, and he is our son, mine and Mark's. You are his aunt. You are the woman who carried him. That's it." She laughed, a soft, chilling sound. "Oh, Chloe, wake up. Look at him." She gestured to the sleeping baby. "He doesn't know about your contracts. He knows my voice. He knows my heartbeat. He knows my milk. He is mine." "We had an agreement," I cried. "A legal, binding agreement." "Take me to court then," she whispered, her eyes glinting. "I'd love to see you try to take a newborn away from his biological mother while she's recovering from major surgery. See what the judge says. See what everyone says." The door opened behind me. Mark stood there, his face ashen. He'd heard everything. "Amelia," he said, his voice low and dangerous, "you need to leave. Now give us our son." "Your son?" she sneered. "Mark, be real. Whose DNA is he made from? Yours and some random girl's? I'm the only mother he has. I'm the only real connection he has. I'm family. She jerked her head at me, is just the barren wife who paid for him." The air left the room. Mark took a step forward, but I put a hand on his arm. I looked at my sister, at the stranger in her face. "What do you want, Amelia?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. "What is this really about? You never wanted children. You said it ruined your body, your life." She looked between us, and her mask finally slipped. The jealousy, the bitterness, the years of living in my perfect shadow, it all came pouring out. "It's about this," she hissed, gesturing around the beautiful nursery, the beautiful house. "It's about him." She looked at Mark with a possessiveness that made my blood run cold. "You have the perfect life, Chloe, the perfect husband, the perfect house. And you didn't even appreciate it. You were always so sad, so mopey about the one thing you couldn't have. Well, I'm giving it to you, but you don't get to have it all. You don't get to have my baby and my..." She trailed off, looking at Mark. A horrifying understanding dawned on me. This wasn't just about the baby. This was about Mark. "You're what, Amelia?" Mark asked, his voice like ice. She didn't answer him. She looked at me, a cruel smile twisting her lips. "You really are clueless, aren't you? All those business trips Mark took last year? The one where he lost his phone for 3 days?" My heart stopped. I looked at Mark. His face was a mask of confusion, then dawning horror. She's lying, Chloe, he said quickly. Whatever she's about to say, it's a lie. Is it? Amelia said sweetly. The Hotel Laurent in Chicago? Room 412? You certainly didn't seem to mind my company then, Mark. You didn't seem to miss your wife then. The world tilted. Chicago. The tech conference. He had lost his phone. He'd been distant when he came back. You're insane, Mark whispered, but there was a flicker in his eyes. A flicker of guilt. Am I? She said. I have the receipts, Mark. Literally. And the photos. Not very flattering, but clear enough. She had planned this. This wasn't a sudden breakdown. This was a long game. She'd slept with my husband, she'd seen our despair over the baby, and she had seen her opportunity to have him, to have a piece of our life, to take what was mine because she believed I didn't deserve it. The surrogacy wasn't a gift, it was a takeover. She looked at the baby in her arms. He was never yours, Chloe. He was always the key to what is mine. I don't remember screaming, but I must have, because the baby started to cry. Mark was yelling, begging me to believe him, to listen. Amelia was rocking the baby, cooing to him. It's okay, Mommy's here. The bad people are leaving. I stumbled out of the room, out of the house, into the cold night air. I collapsed on the front lawn, gasping, the world spinning. Mark came out after me, his face streaked with tears. Chloe, I swear to you, it was one time. It was a catastrophic mistake. I was weak, I was drunk, I was devastated about the baby. She was there and God, I'm so sorry. I ended it immediately. I never imagined she would. He was telling the truth. I could see it. The guilt was eating him alive. But the truth didn't matter. The foundation of everything, my marriage, my family, my future, had been vaporized. My sister had not only stolen my child, she had poisoned my past. Every happy memory I had of the last year was now tainted. Her support, her living with us, the pregnancy, it was all a grotesque performance. She had used my deepest pain as a weapon to destroy me. The door opened. Amelia stood there, the baby still in her arms, a suitcase at her feet. I'm taking my son to a hotel, she announced. I'll be in touch with my lawyer, and yours. She looked at Mark. You can come with us, if you choose. Or you can stay with her. But know that if you stay, you will never see your son again. She walked to a waiting taxi and drove away. With my son. With my husband's son. And just like that, I was back in the quiet, empty house. The nursery was still there. The tiny clothes were still folded. The dream was still painted on the walls. But it was all ash. That was 6 months ago. The legal battle is a war of attrition. She's fighting for full custody. She's using the surrogacy agreement against us, claiming coercion and emotional distress. She's using the one-night stand with Mark as proof of our unstable marriage. We get supervised visits. 2 hours, twice a week. I hold my son, Jacob. I look into his blue eyes, so like his father's. He smiles at me. He doesn't know me. He knows her. He calls her Mama. Mark and I, we are still together. We are navigating the wreckage. Some days, the anger and betrayal is too much. Other days, the shared grief is the only thing holding us together. We are fighting for our son. It's all we have left. Amelia didn't just have the baby I couldn't. She took the sister I loved. She took the trust in my marriage. She took the uncomplicated joy of motherhood. She offered me hope dressed in a sister's skin. But it was a Trojan horse filled with every jealousy, every resentment, every secret desire she'd ever harbored. When my dream died, she offered to be the vessel that carried it back to life. But she was never the vessel. She was the poison in the water. And by the time we tasted it, it was already too late.